Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Semi Soccer Expert Podcast. We are on episode number 48.
48. We're 48
Yeah,
episodes in, guys.
been it's been quite a hiatus since our
Yeah.
last episode, but it's good to be back. It's good to talk about football. It's good to, talk a little trash once in a while here and there. But I'm glad we're recording again. I've been extremely busy with a lot of stuff that's been driving me nuts. But this is a good change of pace. All right. A lot has happened since the last time we've recorded. I believe Juventus has been eliminated from the Champions League. That's a good day for me. And Inter Milan are in first place for the Scudetto. They're about 8 points clear of Milan. So it's not a bad. It hasn't been a bad one for me. How about you, Adrian?
Can almost consider the same for Manchester United. It looks like we're going to get the second spot secured in the Premier League. Granted, there was talks about us trying to go for the title, but City's just cannot lose to anybody but us. So that's just been an interesting thing to deal with. Sucks losing, getting out of the FA Cup though. We lost to Leicester. But it is what it is. I do hope that we can win not the Euros. We'll talk about the Euros soon, but the Europa League. That's a league I'm hoping we can at least get the title in. We were in the semis last year, and it's a title we actually won 5 years ago. So that's something I do want to see if we can get back into. But nah, it's just been groovy. But I'm also to the point where just like just want to get the season wrapped up and just get ready for the new one, and more importantly for the summer tournaments because now we're already in April. There's a resurgence going on. People are getting vaccinated. Well, here in the U.S., people are getting more and more vaccinated. That's one thing I think it's a positive out here in the States because there's so many cases. But now with the amount of vaccinations being provided, and I personally became vaccinated, I just got my second dose last week. So I'm happy with that, and hopefully, it's entirely up to a person's choice, not making anybody do what they want to do. But if you prefer to, go for it because I took it. And I just got a sore arm. So, but everyone's different.
Yeah, I'm supposedly, hopefully, getting vaccinated soon. So fingers crossed that everything goes through, that my appointment goes through, and whatnot. All right, Adrian. What is our first topic? Where do we want to start off today with?
Let's stay in the States. So our friends who we love talking about, NYCFC. So currently their season's about to unravel. MLS as a whole. There's been delayed because in previous episodes we mentioned that there was a potential strike looming, and they were literally like pretty much like this close to going on strike and being on like lockout. So, but luckily that did not happen. They made the new deal. The new CBA restructured it and everything. All so MLS is set to be up and running coming up. I believe this week or the next. I don't have the specific day on top of my head. But what's been going on with NYCFC because since they share Yankee Stadium with the New York Yankees, they actually do not cannot feature all their home games at Yankee Stadium. So as a repeat of last year, they're going to be sharing a lot of games at Rebel Arena, which I'm pretty sure is not going to please a lot of their supporters, especially the hardcore groups.
Yeah, so same fun stuff coming from our favorite team in New York, and I use that term lightly. But just to backtrack a little bit, do you remember when they released the new jersey for NYCFC or no?
No, not exactly.
Okay, so they had released the jersey sometime in February. And then when they release jerseys, obviously they use models to take a picture of the jersey and whatnot. They took the pictures in Rebel Arena, and I mean, not much wrong with that, but when you have a modern stadium like Yankee Stadium, I don't see why they couldn't take the pictures at Yankee Stadium. They couldn't use the backdrop of the jersey release at Yankee Stadium. I think that apparently they did the same thing with one of the LA teams. They took the jersey release and they took those pictures at Red Bull Arena, which I mean it's fine from a logistics standpoint, from a a whatever standpoint. I guess it's fine, but from a marketing standpoint, a lot of fans was like, why are we releasing our jersey at our rival stadium? Same thing for LA. Why are they releasing the jersey in the East Coast? Why are they taking pictures of the East Coast? They should take, if you have an LA jersey, you're in the backdrop of some palm trees, right?
Yeah.
And you take a picture, palm trees in the sun, you take the pictures there. And for like NYCFC, they have like the light blue throwing more of the gray tint jersey. The backdrop of the concrete city would be nice. And for Red Bull Arena, because they're marketed by Red Bull, it's a lot harder to use kind of some kind of natural environment. But they have their arena. They have a very beautiful arena that makes more sense. So a lot of always, I'm sorry, I went on a tangent there, but always a lot of fun stuff comes from NYCFC. But back to your main point, they have to share again the stadium with Red Bull Arena.
Yeah, and not to cut you off, but they're actually going to do 9 games out of their normal 17 games at Red Bull Arena. So that's literally half of their games that they're supposed to be at the stadium. But this is all stemming from schedule conflicts with the Yankees, as we mentioned before,
Right.
because the Yankees are headway into their season right now. The season, baseball season, just started, and it's in full effect. So, last year I think they played a good amount of the games in not in Florida, but it was all segregated because it was still COVID they were dealing with. And actually the baseball season started later because remember everything got shut down. We were locked down. So
March.
yeah, exactly. So everything did not come back up till summer, basically. Um,
Right.
and then last year we were in the MLS was in the bubble, which was actually a cool, tournament. I feel like that's something they should do, not like going forward, but like maybe once in a while do like a little tournament in like Orlando or something. But just a thought, and that's just me going on another tangent as well.
So I think if you look at the schedule, I don't know if you have the schedule up in front of you, Adrian, but so they obviously they play Red Bull Arena. They play the Red Bulls at Red Bull Arena
Yeah.
as one of their away games, but their home game versus the Red Bulls is marked off as Red Bull Arena, if I'm not mistaken. So they're playing Red Bulls at home at Red Bull Arena. So which I find that and I'll give NYCFC a bone here because this time it's not really their fault. The Yankees obviously they have to play their baseball. And unfortunately it's a lot harder to play on a diamond shaped field than it is on a rectangle shaped field. It's a lot
Yeah.
harder
And
hard
what
to
I also
accommodate it.
Sorry, but what I also heard that it was more difficult because now with some COVID regulations, they can't play even overnight, like after a baseball game because it's some protocol that they have to clean the field or something like that.
I I I think it has something to do that the Yankees have a policy of non-baseball activities taking place. So that unfortunately also includes MLS activities. Um, I think there's something there, or either that there needs to be a dead period between any major event or
Mm.
traffic of people. Um, which again, it's fine. I can't blame the Yankees as an organization for taking these precautions. But it's their house. They got to take care of their house. They got to clean their house. NYCFC, and the irony of it is the Yankees own NYCFC. They own a percentage of it. So it's like you do belong to us, but we don't care about you. Um, so yeah, and then as you remember, I think even baseball is still franchises. It's still one organization at the end of the day. But I feel like the Yankees, as their own organization, has a lot more say in their destiny and in their affairs than per se, and Red Bulls has a say in their own affairs versus what MLS would tell them. You know what I'm saying? I think the franchises in baseball are a little more independent or have a little more leeway leverage than the MLS franchises do. So it makes sense why Red Bull Arena MLS dictates, hey, you need to let your neighbor play here because we need it. You know,
Yeah.
and I also hear that. I think we did mention this before, but the Canadian clubs have to play part of their season in the states. Part of their home games. I think Toronto's actually playing in Tampa, and Montreal might be playing down, not down, in Boston or with the Revolution.
I'm not surprised
So
because
it all
it
makes for
sucks
a
for them.
very interesting. It does, no, it definitely does. But again, I don't blame Canada for taking the precautions. And I don't have to remind anyone which of the two nations was a better prepared and better turnaround when it came to taking care of COVID. Obviously Canada did, but as the sporting franchise, and if you also think about it, I think the NHL has a lot more franchises in Canada than they do any other sport. So I'm not sure how those individual sports franchises are doing because in baseball you only have the Toronto Blue Jays. There is no franchise in football, and basketball is just the Raptors. But then in soccer, in football, you have Vancouver, you have Montreal, and you have Toronto. And I want to know how that affects it. And I think back in the day, obviously in the NASL days, we had a couple Canadian teams. So it is going to be interesting how all this travel affects all these travel restrictions affects these organizations. It is a mess indeed, a very big
Yeah,
mess.
yeah.
But back to NYCFC and the Yankee Stadium. It's just always funny. But I think Adrian, you did mention that the CEO had announced some important news or a teaser of news or something.
For NYCFC, yes, I was going into that. So they said in the latest press release that they are plus or minus 4 years out from a desired venue. So give or take 2025, more or less, is when we may see a stadium for NYCFC. NYCFC. I don't know where it would be. I think they're really trying to do the Bronx. So if they end up doing it, which makes sense because that's pretty much where they've been based at the whole time, I can't see them any other borough. But I think it's now or never for them because by this time there's been a lot of discussion and debate between everybody within MLS and especially the NYCFC group of supporters that they just want their own stadium. And I think I may be a little bit out of pocket for this, but I think the Yankees should be doing more for them. I know, granted, they do own a percentage, but I feel like they should help out NYCFC, especially if they want to see it grow more. They should help them more out to get a stadium. Like I don't know what's being done back behind the scenes, but I think it's not a priority for them to help them get a new stadium, to say the least.
No, but absolutely. I don't think when we talk about the Yankees' relationship with NYCFC, it's almost if it's like a owner and its pet. It's nothing more than that. The Yankees are always going to take care of themselves, and I do agree with you. If you have they have 20%, which is not majority, but it's not a small investment. It's not a small percentage of a franchise. And if the Yankees were smart and maybe this is 50 years down the line, but me and you both know, with all due respect, baseball's on the decline.
Yeah.
You know, baseball stadiums never. When was the last time you saw a baseball stadium in New York fill up? It's been a while, unless it's like a major playoffs.
Yeah. Only playoffs is when
Baseball,
you see Yankee Stadium fully sold out.
right? You don't see it, and then as a participation sport, baseball isn't popular among kids either. I think 50 years, maybe 100 years down the line, the New York Yankee brand might not be what it is today. Everybody obviously, a tourist coming to New York gets a New York Yankee hat because it's an iconic symbol. Most people like the McDonald's arch. Most people recognize that symbol, but a lot of people don't know what the Yankees are. They don't know what it is. They just say, "Oh, it's part of New York." That's fair to say. Um, so I agree with you. I think the Yankees should do a little more help with NYCFC trying to find this venue. You know, and again, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt here. It's all politics. How much land is available in the city of New York, which you and me both know there's nothing.
Nothing.
A plot of land is like $1 million.
Looking for land is like looking
One
for
is
park in New
expensive.
York.
It's impossible. It's nothing. It's non-existent. But even if you do find a plot of land, is the city going to allow you to do what you want? It's hard to put a baseball stadium in the Bronx when you need more affordable housing, more adequate housing, more actual housing, because a lot of the housing in the Bronx is under is bad. It's just, I'll say it's bad. It's broken. It needs repair. It needs replacement. So for the city to justify, hey, we're going to put another sports franchise stadium, whatever it may be, to the city, soccer stadium, the city doesn't care. The city cares is better infrastructure, better housing. So that's another issue, and I don't blame them for taking this long because it's plain politics. And I'm not sure where the current politicians in the city stand on this issue of whether to build a stadium or not, but it's a difficult one. So I don't blame it. But to say, but and another thing, the CEO, whoever's been the spokesperson for NYCFC, has been always saying we're 4 years out. We're 4 years out. Every year we're 4 years out. We're 5 years out. We're whatever years out from a stadium. By this, I don't think realistically there is going to be a stadium for NYCFC. I see them sharing the stadium with Red Bull Arena with the Rebels.
Like a New York Jets and Giants
I just
scenario.
think. Yeah, and like let's be honest, it works for the New York Giants and Jets. It does. And maybe that's because American football is the most popular sport in this country, but it works. Who's to say it wouldn't work with soccer? Now, mind you, the only thing that Red Bull Arena has bad for it is its location.
Yeah.
Harrison, New Jersey is not an easy place to get to. Is it connected by mass transit? It is. Takes a while to get there.
But if you're traveling
That's
from New
the
York,
issue.
it's a pain in the
But
ass.
it's a pain in the ass. Yeah, I think even within in New Jersey, honestly, like New Jersey transit isn't as great as NYC transit. It isn't as interconnected as we are. We can get to any borough within, I'd say, 40 minutes. If you're at one end of the borough, you can get to the next one within 30, 40 minutes. In New Jersey, it's a different story. So I think that's a major issue. But wrapping it all up, NYCFC is still going to be looking for a stadium for a long, long time. I think when we have gray hairs, they'll announce a stadium.
I totally agree. And the other thing too that just I thought about while you were mentioning this, what sucks though is that since they're going to be playing half of their home games in Red Bull Arena, it sucks because it doesn't leave them a good lasting impression because now fans are being allowed back into stadiums. So instead of being back into their normal home stadiums, they have to suffer. And I'm not knocking them down, but I'm just saying, because now we're literally starting to allow fans. I don't know how it is for Red Bull Arena. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know how Yankee Stadium is. They're allowing, I think, about 2,000 fans, more or less. So I think, with that being said, I think that kind of hurts them, But given it's not their fault, so can't really do much. But I don't think there's going to be that many fans, NYCFC fans, traveling just to Red Bull Arena for that. But it's still got to get done. Still got to play the games, and hopefully, I think when all is said is done, like late by next year, they'll probably run their regular normal games at Yankee Stadium, give or take. Another crazy virus takes us out. But so that's what I'm trying to say. So now, since they're bringing the fans in, are they going to be willing to go to Red Bull Arena to see their team play?
I mean, there's
Yeah,
that's a tough question to ask. You know, in a regular
it's tough if
season,
you're working for fucking sales and you gotta sell this
yeah,
to your fans.
it absolutely sucks to sales. You know, I don't blame our friends who do it at sales. But you're right. Like you think of the diehard NYCFC fan, you're finally allowed to go watch your team again, and you got to go to Red Bull Arena. Now, I at least say, okay, it's not. I understand it's not NYCFC's fault, but the average fan's probably going to take it out on that poor sales rep and be like, what is going on? I don't want to go over there. This is not what I signed up for. And I think those NYCFC fans should be a little more conscious, I guess, of the situation. You're right. I think from a marketing standpoint, from a just a viewership or retainship of your fans, it just looks bad. Looks bad that when you finally get to go back, you have to go part of those games. You have to go back to Harrison, New Jersey.
Yeah. And I was wondering too, like, was it that difficult to not even do City Field as well? Because I know the Mets too.
I think
They play a lot of home games as well. So I don't know if they can fit them in the stadium as well. They couldn't get the amount of games they wanted to.
right. I think probably the logistic wise, it was probably easier to do those games at Red Bull Arena. Now, let's be honest here. Yes, Yankees, the Yankee Stadium is NYCFC's home stadium, but it's not a soccer stadium.
Yeah.
The dimensions of the field is not the full soccer field. The dimensions of Red Bull Arena are actual dimensions of the soccer field. You know, if you want to experience NYCFC to its potential, what it really is, it's probably all the away games in the past. It's never been the home games. It's never been the games at Yankee Stadium. That's always been Yankee Stadium has always been a substitute, a temporary substitute, nothing more, nothing less. And then playing a football game on a diamond-sized pitch, it's not true soccer. I think I don't know if you remember, but they were playing one time, and there was a big story about how like the turf came off or something, or came off at Yankee Stadium.
I think I've heard about that.
You think you remember something like that? Yeah, like so. It's not even if they did play all the games at Yankee Stadium, it wouldn't be the best environment, in my opinion. So, but here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. So, because that's what I was wondering. Like I said, it sucks that they gotta go to Red Bull Arena, but it just really has to hurt them that they have to do it there because they're shut out of Yankee Stadium for half of the home games. But I'm pretty sure, like once they get the home games up and running, they should have their good amount of their fans back by then. But I don't anticipate much fans. Maybe I could be wrong though. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe some fans will make the trip out to Jersey. We'll see, but good luck because taking that path is a pain in the ass coming from past experience. But all in all, I think just bringing it for full circle is that we're glad soccer's back. Like here in the States specifically, it's been back in Europe. Soccer is back, but now it's going to be an interesting dynamic because we're very cautious up here in the north with allowing fans back in. In the South, they're a little laissez-faire about this, to say the least, especially your Floridas, your Texas, and I think maybe Colorado. Like those states, they're just like, fuck it, no mask, get in stadiums, sell that shit out, drink beer, go crazy. Like, and I'm just like, yeah, no way. Like, I get the weather there is much warmer there than here right now, but I don't think it's a smart thing to do to allow all fans and specifically what Texas is doing. I don't know if you saw a tweet earlier today, but there was I think it was Texas Rangers. They pretty much played a whole game with all like full capacity, fans all next to each other. It looked like pre-COVID, but we're still in the middle of COVID with this going on.
I'm
And
gonna look that up. I did not see that.
yeah, and it's crazy because you're just looking at it and you're just like, and I can guarantee like not even half of these people are even vaccinated still.
Texas Rangers is trending on Twitter.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I'm just like, wow, they really went crazy with this. So I don't know. Well, this is gonna keep going. I don't think they're gonna stop it unless like me, you get like 10,000 people sick within a day or two.
Yeah, that I think unless it's even if there wasn't, unless there is a major spike, it. But it also, what it does say, it just on Texas, but it also says on the MLB leadership. You know, it has a lot to do with what the MLB allows. At the end of the day, yes, the governor of Texas said it's okay, but at the end of the day, this is the MLB's franchise, and it looks to me that the MLB is more concerned with profits than they are
Oh hell yeah,
with
they
the safety of individuals.
100%.
Yeah,
And
but that's
and I wouldn't even just say MLB. A lot of companies are trying to run back to business at 100%, to say the least. But it can be a good thing, but also a bad thing at the same time, because we're still in this middle of the pandemic. People are trying to get their lives back together, but I don't think going at a full blow right now, like allowing everyone back in, fill up bars, fill up stadiums, fill up venues, etc. I don't think that's the right thing to do right now. I 100% don't agree. Even though I'm fully vaccinated, I'm not gonna go to a full stadium. Like, I prefer the way they're doing it right here in New York, like 10%, 15%, 20% capacity. I'm fine with that. I don't think we should be back where we were back to normal, because people still need to get vaccinated. There's still other strains coming out to this day, and I feel like it's negligence on these politicians trying to say, oh, we should go back to normal. COVID's done and dusted. Like, no, it's not. People are still ending up in a hospital. People are still getting sick from this. So it's very
to be
careless.
honest, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of spike in Texas.
Yeah, and that's a scary thing, because nobody's gonna do anything until something happens. The
Right, right, right.
the states and everybody else in general, they just like to react than to be proactive. So who knows, man?
Yeah,
Um,
well, but it's gonna be. I'm trying to look at the cases right now and how they're going. Let me see. Well, it's been pretty steady right now, but still, it's not a good look regardless.
yeah,
But hey, enough about the coronavirus. I'm sick of talking about the coronavirus, man.
and we're in
All
still
right,
in the middle of it, man. We're still in the middle of it.
all right.
But
You're
but
still in the middle of it.
let's
All
change
right,
some
now
gears though.
let's change
So
the gears. Let's
y-
let's head back to Europe.
yeah, let's go over the pond. Champions League. You mentioned this to me earlier, that starting in 2024, they're going to go under a new format. So it's pretty much scrapping the group rounds, and they're just going to do like a whole table where I guess everyone, whoever is in that table, play against each other, and essentially
So
top eight
yeah,
teams take over.
so this is how I saw it. So there's going to be a whole table of 36 teams. I think it was 36 teams. So the first 32 teams that are in it qualify the normal way that and mind you, this is something I just found out recently, so I don't have the full details on it. But the first 32 teams qualify the way they've been qualifying now, so that's either winning the domestic league, coming second, third, fourth, etc., or whatever they mean. So the 36 teams play. I think it was five different teams within that league table. And then they're not playing everybody. Not all 36 teams in that team play everybody. Just 36 teams. Each team plays five random teams in that table. The first eight qualified directly, and the following eight, I think they have to do a playoff system. So the whole, and I'm not really too concerned about like how would they qualify, whatever. The whole idea of this is that there are more games being played. You know, they want more games to be played, so there are more matchups of like Liverpool versus Man U, or Barca versus Chelsea, or Juventus versus Bayern. They want more of those matchups being played. More high ticket games. You know, increasing the money for the sponsors, increasing the viewership, and also increasing the ticket revenue. Also, it's another way for, how the small teams two places for Champions League, and they'll qualify for the qualifying round. They'll make it to the qualifying, so they have to play 2 or 3 games before they get into the group stage. The idea is to scrap that part, so those teams play more games. You know, so like a team like Ajax, for example, a team that in 2019 made it all the way to the semifinals. They weren't in the group stage to begin with. They started off playing in those qualifying rounds. So it's an idea of giving a team like Ajax more games. Another team that always in the qualifying rounds like Olympiacos from Greece, or the small teams in Portugal that they have to qualify. So instead of just playing 1, 2 games getting knocked out, they play the whole set of 5, and then get increasing the gamership.
Okay.
So there's still some if and buts. Remember, I said 32. There's still 4 more spaces to reach that 36. So those 4 spaces are actually for, they say, teams that historically play well in the Champions League but didn't make it into this year's competition. So a good example would be Arsenal. Arsenal that historically does well, well, not in the last 10 years, but historically did well in the Champions League. Um, could qualify through that pathway if they made seventh, but they did well in the years past in the Europe and the Champions League, they'll make it to the Champions League. The more recent example is Tottenham. Tottenham that made the final, the Tottenham that always has gone past the group stage. This year, the 2020 season, they were what, sixth, seventh place.
Yeah.
So
Europa League.
they would be right in the Europa League, so they would directly go to the Champions League as a sixth place team. So that's where the controversies arrives. That saying, why is a team that wins the domestic league, let's say in Belgium or in Russia, goes to Europa League, and the team in England that got sixth, seventh goes to the Champions League. So that's why they're still talking about this, how this format is going to work. Um, but that's the whole gist of it. Now, my critique is, and I've always said this: don't fix what's not broken. You know, I'm a big fan of that Ajax team that made the semifinals. They played beautiful football. Like that was a great team. I think they eliminated Juventus, and I'm not mistaken, they eliminated Man U too, as well.
Not
No, it wasn't
us.
that year.
No,
Okay,
we actually
so
beat that team when they made the Europa League final, when they were all still like really young kids, and they were like when they actually,
they were like,
yeah, when they were like 19, 18, 19, like they were really young
okay,
at that time.
okay. So I know,
I
I
think it
know
was
Ajax.
Madrid they beat, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, 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 yes. Yes, correct. They beat Real Madrid and they beat Juventus. That's a great Ajax team. Look at Atalanta. Atalanta, a team that was maybe a couple minutes away from reaching the semifinals. Was it? It was at the final. It was the
Yeah,
semifinal.
ooh, didn't they play PSG, if I'm not mistaken, or Bayern? It was one of those two
Yeah,
they played.
PSG. They lost to PSG, but I don't think PSG was going to the final. I don't remember. But regardless of the thing, eh, you know,
It's those smaller
Atalanta.
teams, pretty much.
Also, a smaller team. Ajax, a small team. Leicester City, when they won the 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 EPL, they went. I think they went on to the quarterfinals. That's a deep run for a team that never been in Europe. And I think reformatting this is giving more of those. I don't really want to call them big clubs anymore. I want to call them better branded clubs. Better marketed clubs. Real Madrid, Barcelona, Manchester United, Man City, PSG. Those are teams now that have such a great cultural footprint, marketed footprint. Because they have so much money, UEFA wants to give them more viewership, more TV time, and obviously, the more not just domestically, but if people are watching more Champions League, these teams are going to be on it. I don't think that's good for football, because then it stops teams like Atalanta, it stops teams like Leicester, it stops teams like Ajax from making those deep runs in the Champions League. And when a small team makes those deep runs, they're doing something right. They're doing something that money clearly can't buy. And it goes back to something I said before. It's like it it forces teams to invest in their tactics. It forces teams to invest in their scouting. It forces teams to invest in their recruitment process, their training process, their diets, their athletic training, weights, whatever. It forces teams and people, to think outside the box, to think that, hey, just because my owner has this big checkbook doesn't mean that I'm going to be the best team. But by reformatting the Champions League in this way, it just says it's okay to have a big checkbook as long as you win. I don't think that's good for football. It stops the growth. It stops the creativity. It stops the being smart, thinking outside the box. So I'm not a fan of this format. My team Inter Milan would probably be one of the teams that benefit from. They're about to win the Scudetto, and they're a very decently well marketed team, especially in Asia. In Asia, they're one of the better loved
Represented
clubs.
team.
Represent the team.
Hmm.
So but I'm an Inter fan, but I love what Atalanta did. I can't say not. That was the beautiful thing for football, that they were about to eliminate PSG, arguably number one or number two most richest club in the world. I felt that was the greatest thing in the world, and now by having this format, that's things like that are gonna stop. You know,
Yeah, I don't agree with this new format, to be honest. Maybe just it's still like in this pre-development stages of how they're setting it up, but the way it's coming out, I'm just like, what the fuck is this? To be honest, they should, like you said, keep, if it's not broken, don't fix it. All in all, I think they should just keep it how it normally is. I love the group stages.
right?
Just for the sheer fact, like, sure, you don't get like the top teams facing, but you at least get two top teams facing each other, unless you're in like a group of death scenario where you get like four killer teams against each other and only two survive. But I think the prestige of just the group matches, because it's like sometimes you don't see these matches on an everyday basis, and knowing that they're actually play each other twice in the same group stage, it's also good too. And I think historically that's how it should be, and I think that's how it should be kept. Just because like you were saying, you don't want some team that's done relatively good past in Europe. Like, I think even United, if we bombed one year and we ended up like sixth or seventh, we still walk into the Champions League. I don't agree with that, to be honest, because it's not fair. Because you do get all these other teams, like you say, your Olympiacos, Young Boys, etc. All these teams, and they bust their tails to just try and get to the Champions League. But then they're just like, oh no, you're off to Europa. I'm like, that's not fair for them. Like, granted, maybe Europa is a better competition for them, like, just for being devil's advocate, because in the Europa League they probably have a better chance to compete. But I think with this going forward, this new structure of the Champions League, I don't agree with it, to be honest. I've always liked the way it's been promoted, and I get it why they're trying to like really maximize all the big teams and just be like, hey, you want to see your Barcelona's and Manchester United play like in the first round, etc. Like, here we're gonna introduce this new format. I think if they introduce it the way it's mentioned right now, it's gonna get really criticized, to say the least, because I think not just fans, but I think you're going to hear coaches, managers, representatives from clubs probably saying I think they should have a vote on this, and hopefully they vote no. But I can imagine like but then you got your Florentino Perez, who actually is savoring for this type of ordeal because he's just like, oh, at the Bernabeu we can get all these top teams facing each other, every week. So uh, it sucks, but like I said, I hope it doesn't end up being like that. I do hope we do get some aspect of the group stages, and hopefully
Mhm.
it does not get impacted that heavily, to say the least.
So, and to add to what you said, I think, it's great for, one of Man U's rivals in Europe. I'd say was AC Milan back in the day. That was a good matchup. I think they recently just played in the Europa League.
Yep.
It, if you're playing AC Milan more often, that fixture isn't as great as it used to be.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah, because before this, the last time we played in not Inter, AC Milan was 2010, I think. Yeah, I think it has to be
okay,
2010 was the
yeah.
last time we played them.
So that was the last time, and mine, and it sucks that you didn't get to play them more often, but it makes the occasion so much more special.
Yeah.
You know, right now the most classic European rivalry I can think of is Barca and Chelsea
I was gonna
because
say
of
Barca and
you
Bayern.
know I okay Barca and Bayern, but like I always think of Barca and Chelsea because I remember when Iniesta scored that late winner in '09. And then I remember, then you can go back and think about when Torres takes the ball from his own half and he dribbles all the way, to score against um, Valdez on a one-on-one. Those matches, because they're so limited, makes it that much more special. You know, Inter Milan played Real Madrid in the group stage recently in this past Champions League, and I don't know, I don't remember when was the last time Real Madrid played them before that. You know, so these not playing these European rivals every single time it just makes it more special.
And it holds the prestige too.
And yeah, it holds the positions, right? Absolutely. And to add to the Europa League, I think it also waters down. If you have this massive Champions League, it's going to water down the Europa League. It's going to water down what it really is. It's to give an opportunity for those smaller teams that can't qualify to the Champions League to give them opportunity to play more international football and to win some. It's going to water it down. And I forgot to add, they're actually adding a third European tournament. So it's going to be Champions League, Europa League, and I want to say it was the Conference League
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
it
We
was
talked
called
about it.
Europe.
Yeah, the third league that's gonna start soon. So this is gonna be
Right.
below Europa. So
Below Europa. So I like the idea of a third without changing the Europa League and Champions. I like the idea of a third because it gives teams like Sampdoria, Atalanta, who had prior to this didn't qualify, Lazio. If you think of England, you think of Wolves, maybe a Crystal Palace, maybe a West Ham to play European competition, which would be good to them. Obviously, the money wouldn't be there like it would be in Champions League or in the Europa League, but it gives valid experience, more scouting, more playing time, and I'm sure the players themselves would love it. The coaches themselves would love it as well. So that's a positive. But that being said, you can't change what's not broken. And the Champions League ain't broken, and the Europa League ain't
yeah, totally get it. So since we're still in Europe, let's talk about this the summer tournament that was supposed to happen last year, the Euro 2020s. So we're so near to the Euro 2020s. We're literally, as of today, almost like 2 months, barely 2 months away from the Euros, and now nobody knows what to do. Well, not just nobody knows what to do; it's just nobody knows what's going to go on because so there's not really much information being let out as to where the fixtures are going to be. Well, obviously the fixtures are already predetermined, like where the games are, but are they actually going to be held at these stadiums? Because the thing with the Euro 2020, it was supposed to represent like each country, like most majority of the European countries host games out there, group stage games there during the tournament. So is this still going to go through, especially with COVID still not, not dying down? And there's also like been like a lot of cases surging too in some European countries as we speak. So I think no, from what I read is they're gonna hold a like pretty much a get together with all the UEFA heads on April 20th in Switzerland and figure out what they're gonna do going forward. And I feel like that, well, that's a little late, but at the same time, hopefully they can figure out what they're gonna do. And plus, I know there's been a lot of fans who actually paid for like to go to the Euros, and I know a friend planning who was planning and still planning to want to go to the Euros this year. But are they even going to allow fans? How's that going to be determined? Are there going to be 10% out seat allocations? Nobody knows.
Uh, I remember I had the offer to go see what was it, the semifinals and the final for Euro 2020, and I think it had a hotel included, everything included. It was a little under $3,000, which is not a bad deal. But thank God I didn't pay for it because now we know what happened. Um, I think UEFA and FIFA should have made the decision by now. It's a little, cutting into the wire, or maybe not. Maybe they're very confident in organizing everything in the snap of a finger. I don't know. But being that I think last week France went on a third national lockdown. They're not doing too well. I'm not sure how other nations are doing, and I think Europe is again in a resurgence of coronavirus cases. It just doesn't make sense to to hold this tournament anymore. And if they are going to hold it, I think just keep it in one nation.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're doing in England because infrastructurally wise, they're probably the best in terms of stadiums. But
Just use all the
I'd
Premier
say
League
you
stadiums.
no, but also if you think about having just 2,000 people stadium, I think the Netherlands is not a bad option. They don't have big stadiums. It's a small. You can travel back and forth quickly.
It's a small
It just
country too.
depends, huh?
It's a small country, Netherlands as well, so it's easy
Yeah,
to get
so
around.
easier to get around. It's easier to manage those people. If the government needs to track someone based on where they're going, it's a lot easier to track them in the Netherlands versus if they're tracking them in the
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree, but I think if it comes to a worst case scenario, it may just end up being in England.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I think they'll go for England for sure.
Yeah, I
England
think.
England isn't going to say no for that opportunity.
Yeah, I think just for the sheer fact, England, from what I've been hearing, that a lot of tests, like not tests, I'm sorry, vaccines have been pouring out there as well. So people are getting vaccinated in England as we speak, and hopefully it does go well. But it's just odd because, like I said, this is like next to the World Cup. Not just some, I guess, a little arrogant, but this is like the second biggest tournament. You could argue, obviously, the Copa America is right up there, but like one of the biggest summer tournaments in the world, and nobody knows what's going on. So it's just weird, and literally, it's literally less than like what 60 days before a decision's going to be made, and this is going to impact a lot of people who are flying, a lot of pretty much the teams as well, because they're going to be like, okay, what are we going to do? When are we going to select? I'm pretty sure they know when to select the squads, but the players when they finish up their tournament, their seasons as well, because think about it, is like a lot of teams are not finishing up until like late June. So especially if not late June, but like early June is what I meant to say, because especially if you're in Champions League and you're playing like a Champions League final and then you got to go report to international duty, that doesn't give teams much time, especially if you're going to do it in a different country and the wherewithal with all that. So it's a little mind-boggling that they haven't really announced anything. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see by April 20th to see how it all comes about.
Everything's mind-boggling with UEFA.
Yeah.
It's gonna be April 20th. It's gonna be an interesting day. We're in. It's still a while to go. 15 more days. 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, we'll find out the truth. But you're right. I mean, it'll be in England, and like you said, the logistics of playing a Champions League final and then having to go for international duty. And who knows what's going to happen with the Champions League final? It might get pushed back if there's a really big resurgence. So players got to choose to represent their country in the Euro or play in the Champions League final. So that's a
Yeah.
tough decision.
It's gonna be a shitty decision to be honest.
All right.
But yeah, so
Absolutely should. I wouldn't want to be in that person's shoes.
yeah.
All right. Well, Adrian, that was a good episode so far. Before we wrap everything up, did we miss anything? Did we miss any topics that I can
Nothing
think of? I can't think of one.
Nothing now, because like I said, we're in the middle. Like I feel like we're in a resurgence with fans being allowed here in the states, fans being allowed in the stadiums. I feel like we should monitor that as before we hit our next episode, because hopefully cases do not go up. Hopefully nothing backfires, especially with what they're doing over in the south. But other than that, we'll obviously keep everyone updated to see how it is here stateside, and also, and hopefully by the next episode we get to find out how the Euros are. So we'll touch base on that. But other than that, we're after this literally one episode before the magical 50. So 49 obviously isn't, it's not 50, but it's going to be an action-packed episode. We're going to talk, what we usually talk about, debate, what we like to debate about. So for me, I just want to thank you guys for listening, and just stay tuned for the next episode. Anything
All
on
right.
your end, Mario?
All right, guys. No, I'm good. Thank you guys for listening. As always, let's keep in touch, and we'll see y'all next whenever the next episode's going to be.
Yeah, seriously, our
All right.
schedules are so messed up. But thanks again for listening, and have a good one.